Well, hello friends, I'm here today with Albie Powers, lead pastor of Elm City Church in Keene, New Hampshire. And we're here today at the indoor golf simulator for a couple reasons. One, Albie has been preaching through 2 Peter at his church, so I thought we'd be able to interact around some of the passages that he's already preached on. And also, he's a pretty good golfer, and at one time was a golf coach, and I'd like a few tips. And I think there's a little connection here between becoming a good golfer and what that takes, and learning to live a godly life. So we're going to interact around that theme today as well.
Everything you see is really for the kingdom here. So just doing what we can, suffering for Jesus.
Yeah, not a bad setup.
At the simulator, yes.
Not a bad setup. Well, let me read our passage for today, and then we'll dive in. It's 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 5 through 7. For this very reason, make every effort to supplement your faith with virtue, and virtue with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with steadfastness, and steadfastness with godliness, and godliness with brotherly affection, and brotherly affection with love. So here's the main thought for today, all right? A godly life requires a correct vision of the necessary components of a godly life. We need a correct vision of the necessary components for a godly life. So we'll come back to that in just a minute here. So, question for you, Albie.
Yes.
What are the necessary components of a good golf swing?
Well, other than a Olympic-style physique, I would say that the necessary components are the basics, which is grip and posture and alignment. And if you get those right, everything flows out of that. If your grip, your posture, and alignment are out of place, you have to make compensations everywhere, and it's going to be a disaster. So, for alignment, it's pretty simple. If you're wanting to work on this at home, what you can do is you think of two train tracks. You want the train track here going to the target, and this train track here going parallel. Once that's set up, you want to shoot
the train wreck.
the train. Yeah, so Sam's is the train wreck. You want to think the train track. You want to get everything square and lined up. At least from here, you have a chance. So I don't know. Would you like me to hit one?
Go for it.
All right.
I'd love to see it.
Okay, so there's going to be video evidence of whether this is good or bad. Oh,
Here it goes.
that one is a little bit off the tracks, but it is, let's see. All right,
On the green,
we're putting at least.
I think you're good.
There we go.
I think you're good.
Hopefully my preaching's better than my golf.
Well, let's shift a little to our passage for today.
Okay.
We'd love to interact with you on a couple questions here. First of all, when you look at this passage as a disciple, and you see that list of necessary components, which of those components really kind of grabs you right now in this season?
Yeah, so I got the distinct advantage of preaching to this a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that stood out to me was how it starts with faith, and it moves towards love. So brotherly affection is the second to last, the seventh one, and love is the eighth one. And really the goal, and in these lists, the sorties lists, that the final one is the climax and the highest one. And always this reminder that the highest goal of the Christian life, what everything's moving us towards, is love. And the brotherly affection was one of the things that made the early church stand out, especially in the Roman Empire, where they treated other Christians as if they were family. And so some of their generosity and stuff you would see would be kind of almost crazy for a random person, but would make total sense for someone who's family. And that was a big thing, and then the highest thing of love, that if you don't have love, almost like it doesn't, it's not that David French had an article, and I know that's, you either a big fan or not, but he was bringing out that all these lists of fruit of the Spirit, like being right, wasn't listed as a fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
But love, joy, peace, patience, or brotherly affection. So sit with that as you will, but love is the highest thing that this list is moving towards.
That's a great observation. I love that the Christian life starts with faith. It's all working towards love. And all these parts in the middle, are necessary components. I don't know one person that would say, I don't want love in my life. I don't want to become a loving person. But usually, it's all the getting there. These different aspects that are highlighted that take some work. Take some work. I love that. Another question for you.
Yeah.
I'll kind of put on your pastor hat now. You're thinking about this passage. How do you help people that you're shepherding, that you're serving, kind of develop a correct vision for the necessary components of the godly life? I know at Elm City, And the tagline is practicing the way of Jesus. So you want people to be practicing this kind of life. How do you help them develop a correct vision?
Yeah, I would say two things. One, this flows right into that because in a couple verses later, Peter says, basically, if you put these things into practice, these qualities into practice, they keep you from being unfruitful or ineffective and unfruitful. And the word could also be translated useless, which sounds really negative, but it has the definition of like not living into something's intended purpose.
Yeah. And
so encouraging people, like Jesus has designed a way of life for us to live into that is new and is different, but it takes practice. Like he even says, like you need to practice these qualities. So helping people think about what would this look like to do and say, and how can we come alongside each other and encourage each other. And just like a golf swing, when you get started, you're probably not gonna be very good. And there's gonna be a lot of like things like, oh, that doesn't line up. But as you have other people around you help you, like more and more, you'll start to look like Jesus if you practice these qualities.
And that practice line really ties in with kind of the beginning of this verse. Make every effort to supplement your faith. And so, I mean, there's effort involved in learning to live this life. I love what Dallas Willard says, that grace is not opposed to effort, it's opposed to earning. And we're earning nothing before God, learning to live a godly life. We're receiving everything. But it takes effort. It takes effort.
It does. And even you see the flow of 3 through 12, he starts off in 3 and 4 by saying, like basically, God has given you everything you need to live a life of godliness. He's given you his grace, he's given you his Holy Spirit. All of this comes from God. And he says, therefore, you need to make every effort. It's the other side of the coin, and it's never looked at as, in any terms, optional. Matter of fact, it says if these things aren't there, if you're not pursuing it, something's seriously wrong. It doesn't negate grace, but this church needed to hear the other side of the coin, and so Peter emphasizes it a lot in the beginning.
That's right. That's right. Well, I appreciate you being with us today, showing us a few tips on the golf course. Hopefully this spring we'll get out on the real one.
Absolutely. So, if you ever want to know the location of the undisclosed golf bunker, send me a message. And we'll see what happens.
Very good. See you next week, friends. Have a great week.